What if I told you that the difference between feeling lost in retirement and absolutely loving every single day comes down to just 5 simple routines that take less than 2 hours total? I spent 3 years interviewing over 200 retirees, and the ones who were genuinely thriving all had these exact same daily patterns, while those struggling were missing every single one of them. Today, I'm going to share these game-changing routines that can transform your retirement from feeling empty and directionless into the most fulfilling chapter of your life. And here's the thing that shocked me most during my research. The happiest retirees weren't the ones with the most money, the biggest houses, or the most exotic travel plans. They were the ones who had cracked the code on these daily rhythms. Before we dive in, I want you to think about this. After decades of having your days structured by work schedules, meetings, and deadlines, retirement can feel like stepping into a vast, empty space with no boundaries. That freedom that you dreamed about for so long can suddenly feel overwhelming, even scary. You're not alone if you've felt this way. According to recent studies, nearly 40% of retirees experience what researchers call retirement syndrome, a period of depression, anxiety, and loss of identity that can last for years. But here's what I discovered. The retirees who avoid this trap entirely are the ones who intentionally create new structures for their days. Not rigid, work-like schedules that feel constraining, but gentle, nurturing routines that give their days meaning and flow. These aren't complicated systems or time-consuming activities. They're simple, almost mundane practices that create a foundation for joy. Let me start with the first routine that literally every happy retiree I interviewed had in common: the morning anchor. This isn't about waking up at 5 in the morning or doing an hour of meditation, though some do choose those paths. The morning anchor is simply having one consistent activity that you do every single morning that signals to your brain and body that a new day is beginning with intention. For Sarah, a retired teacher from Portland, her morning anchor is making her coffee in a French press while looking out her kitchen window at the bird feeder she installed. It takes maybe 10 minutes, but she told me it's become almost sacred to her. She watches the cardinals and chickadees, notices how the light changes with the seasons, and uses this time to mentally preview her day without pressure or stress. For Robert, a former engineer, his morning anchor is writing 3 pages in a notebook. Not a journal exactly, just stream of consciousness, thoughts, observations, worries, ideas, whatever comes to mind. He said it clears his mental clutter and helps him feel more present for whatever the day brings. The key insight here is that your morning anchor should be something you genuinely enjoy, something that feels nourishing rather than obligatory. It could be stretching while listening to your favorite music, tending to houseplants, reading poetry, doing a crossword puzzle, or even just sitting quietly with your thoughts. The specific activity matters less than the consistency and the intentionality behind it. What makes this routine so powerful is that it creates what psychologists call a keystone habit, a behavior that naturally triggers other positive behaviors throughout your day. When you start your morning with purpose and presence, you're more likely to make thoughtful choices about how to spend your time, more likely to notice small pleasures, and more likely to feel like an active participant in your life rather than just drifting through it. The second routine that transformed lives is what I call the daily learning dose. Now, before you roll your eyes and think I'm going to tell you to go back to school or start studying quantum physics, hear me out. The daily learning dose is about feeding your curiosity in small, manageable ways that keep your mind engaged and growing. This could be as simple as learning one new word each day and trying to use it in conversation. It could be watching a 10-minute documentary on YouTube about a topic you know nothing about. It could be learning to identify one new bird species, trying a new recipe technique, or reading about the history of your neighborhood. Margaret, a retired nurse, started learning Spanish using a language app for just 15 minutes each day. She wasn't planning any trips to Spanish-speaking countries. She just thought it sounded interesting. 2 years later, she's volunteering as a translator at a local clinic and has made friends with several Spanish-speaking families in her community. What started as a small daily habit opened up an entirely new dimension of her retirement life. The beauty of the daily learning dose is that it proves to yourself every single day that you're still growing, still discovering, still becoming. After a career where learning might have been focused on job requirements and professional development, this kind of learning is purely for joy and personal expansion. It reminds your brain that retirement isn't about winding down, it's about opening up. Research shows that people who engage in regular learning activities during retirement have better cognitive function, lower rates of depression, and a greater sense of life satisfaction. But beyond the health benefits, there's something deeply satisfying about going to bed each night knowing you know something you didn't know that morning. The third routine is the connection catalyst, and this one might be the most important of all. Humans are fundamentally social beings, and one of the biggest challenges of retirement is the loss of daily social interaction that work provided. You might have had colleagues you chatted with at the coffee machine, attended regular meetings, or participated in workplace social events. Suddenly, that structure is gone, and it's easy to become isolated without realizing it. The connection catalyst is about intentionally nurturing relationships every single day. This doesn't mean you have to become a social butterfly or host dinner parties every week. It's about small, consistent acts of connection that keep you woven into the fabric of community and friendship. For some retirees, this might mean calling one friend or family member each day, even if it's just a 5-minute check-in call. For others, it might be writing one handwritten note or email to someone they care about. Some make it a point to have one meaningful conversation with a stranger, maybe the cashier at the grocery store, a neighbor they pass while walking, or someone at the library. Tom, a retired accountant, started what he calls his daily dose of kindness. Every day, he does one small thing for someone else. It might be holding a door, complimenting someone's garden, helping someone reach something on a high shelf at the store, or leaving a positive review for a local business he enjoyed. He says it's transformed not just his mood, but his entire perspective on retirement. Instead of feeling like he's no longer contributing to the world, he feels more connected to his community than ever before. The connection catalyst works because it combats the sense of invisibility that many retirees experience. In a work environment, you have a role, a title, a purpose that others recognize. In retirement, you can start to feel like you're fading into the background of life. But when you make connection a daily practice, you remain an active participant in the human community. You matter to others, and they matter to you. The fourth routine that happy retires swear by is the movement ritual. Now, I'm not talking about intense workouts or training for marathons, unless that's something that genuinely excites you. The movement ritual is about incorporating joyful physical activity into every day in a way that honors your body and energizes your spirit. This could be a gentle walk around your neighborhood where you notice architectural details you've never seen before. It could be dancing to 3 songs in your living room, doing some gardening, swimming at a community center, playing with grandchildren or pets, or doing yoga stretches while watching the morning news. The key word here is ritual. This isn't about exercise as punishment or obligation. It's about movement as celebration, as a way of saying thank you to your body for carrying you through decades of life. It's about staying physically engaged with the world around you. Linda, a retired librarian, discovered that her movement ritual was walking through different neighborhoods in her city and photographing interesting doorways. She combines physical activity with creativity and exploration, and she's created beautiful photo albums that document the architectural diversity of her area. What started as a simple walking routine became an artistic project that brings her immense satisfaction. The movement ritual also serves as a natural mood regulator. When you move your body regularly, you're producing endorphins, improving circulation, and literally shaking off stagnant energy. Many retirees tell me that their movement ritual is when their best ideas come to them, when they process emotions, or when they feel most connected to their physical selves. The beautiful thing about establishing this routine is that it's completely adaptable to your physical capabilities and limitations. If you have mobility challenges, your movement ritual might be chair exercises while listening to audiobooks. If you have chronic pain, it might be gentle stretching or water activities. The goal isn't athletic achievement, it's about honoring your body and staying physically engaged with life. The fifth and final routine is what I call the gratitude reset. And it might sound simple, but its impact is profound. This is about ending each day by acknowledging 3 specific things that brought you joy, satisfaction, or appreciation during the past 24 hours. This isn't about forced positivity or pretending that difficult days don't happen. It's about training your brain to notice the good stuff that's already there but might get overlooked in the rush of daily life. The key is specificity. Not just "I'm grateful for my health," but "I'm grateful that my knee didn't hurt when I walked up the stairs this afternoon." Or "I'm grateful for the way the afternoon light made the flowers on my kitchen table glow." Patricia, a retired social worker, keeps what she calls her joy jar next to her bed. Every night, she writes down 3 specific moments of gratitude on small pieces of paper and drops them into the jar. On difficult days, she can pull out a few notes and remember that even in challenging times, there are always small lights of goodness. After 6 months, her jar was full, and reading through all those moments of gratitude felt like reviewing a treasure collection of her retirement life. The gratitude reset works because it literally rewires your brain for positivity. When you end each day by focusing on what went well, you're more likely to notice positive experiences as they happen. You start looking for things to be grateful for throughout the day, which makes you more present, more appreciative, and more aware of the richness that's already in your life. Research in positive psychology shows that people who practice daily gratitude have better sleep, stronger immune systems, more satisfying relationships, and higher overall life satisfaction. But beyond the health benefits, the gratitude reset provides closure to each day. Instead of falling asleep worrying about tomorrow or replaying the day's frustrations, you end on a note of appreciation and contentment. Now, here's the crucial part that many people miss when they try to implement new routines. You don't have to do all 5 of these perfectly from day one. In fact, trying to revolutionize your entire daily structure overnight is almost guaranteed to fail. The retirees who successfully transformed their daily experience started with just one routine and gradually added others as the first one became natural and automatic. I recommend starting with whichever routine resonates most strongly with you right now. If you're struggling with feeling disconnected, maybe begin with the connection catalyst. If you're having trouble with motivation and purpose, the morning anchor might be your starting point. If you're dealing with physical stagnation, the movement ritual could be the key that unlocks everything else. Give yourself at least 3 weeks to establish one routine before adding another. Research shows that it takes an average of 21 days for a new behavior to start feeling automatic, but for some people it takes longer. Be patient with yourself and celebrate small victories along the way. Here's something else I learned from interviewing all these happy retirees. They don't see these routines as chores or obligations. They see them as gifts they give themselves each day. The morning anchor isn't something they have to do, it's something they get to do. The daily learning dose isn't a requirement, it's an adventure. This shift in perspective makes all the difference in whether these practices become sustainable parts of your life, or just another thing to feel guilty about not doing perfectly. Let me share one more story that illustrates the cumulative power of these routines. When I first interviewed Jack, a retired construction foreman, he described feeling invisible and useless 6 months into retirement. He missed the camaraderie of his work crew, felt physically restless, and worried that his best days were behind him. Jack started with just the morning anchor. sitting on his back porch with coffee and watching the sunrise. After 3 weeks, he added the movement ritual, walking through his neighborhood and eventually discovering a community garden where he started volunteering. The social interaction at the garden naturally became his connection catalyst. Working with plants sparked his curiosity about horticulture, which became his daily learning dose. And ending each day by appreciating the small victories and beautiful moments became his gratitude reset. When I interviewed Jack again 8 months later, he was a different person, not because his circumstances had dramatically changed, but because his daily experience had been transformed. He had purpose without pressure, structure without rigidity, and growth without stress. He told me that retirement had become the best chapter of his life, and it all started with watching the sunrise with his morning coffee. The beautiful truth about these 5 routines is that they create what I call a positive feedback loop. Each routine supports and enhances the others. Your morning anchor gives you energy for your movement ritual. Your daily learning dose gives you interesting things to talk about during your connection catalyst moments. Your movement ritual improves your mood, making it easier to notice things to be grateful for during your gratitude reset. And your gratitude reset helps you sleep better, which makes your morning anchor more enjoyable and sustainable. Together, these routines create a framework for living that's flexible enough to accommodate the natural rhythms of retirement life, while providing enough structure to prevent the drift and aimlessness that can make retirement feel empty instead of fulfilling. I want to address one concern that comes up frequently when I share these ideas. Some people worry that creating daily routines in retirement defeats the purpose of being free from schedules and obligations. They think retirement should be about spontaneity and doing whatever you feel like doing in the moment. But here's what I've observed. Complete freedom without any structure often leads to paralysis, not joy. When every moment is wide open, it becomes harder to make decisions about how to spend your time. You end up defaulting to passive activities like watching television or scrolling through your phone, not because these things bring you deep satisfaction, but because they require no decisions or energy. The 5 routines I've shared aren't about limiting your freedom. They're about creating a foundation that makes freedom more enjoyable and meaningful. When you have these anchoring practices in your day, you're more likely to make intentional choices about how to spend your unstructured time. You're more likely to try new things, connect with others, and engage with life actively rather than passively. Think of these routines like the banks of a river. They don't stop the water from flowing, they give it direction and power. Without banks, a river becomes a stagnant swamp. With gentle boundaries, it becomes a force of life and energy. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Retirement isn't something that happens to you, it's something you create. Every single day, you have the opportunity to choose whether you're going to drift or thrive, whether you're going to feel disconnected or engaged, whether you're going to see retirement as an ending or as a beginning. These 5 simple routines, the morning anchor, daily learning dose, connection catalyst, movement ritual, and gratitude reset, are tools for creation. They're ways of actively crafting a retirement life that feels meaningful, connected, and joyful. You don't need special equipment, expensive memberships, or perfect conditions to start implementing these practices. You just need to begin to be patient with yourself as you develop new habits and to trust that small, consistent actions can create profound changes in how your days feel and flow. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. The goal isn't to fill every moment with activity, it's to create a rhythm that supports your well-being and happiness. The goal isn't to prove anything to anyone else, it's to give yourself the gift of days that feel purposeful and light. Your retirement years can absolutely be the most fulfilling, growth-filled, joy-rich chapter of your life. It just takes a little intentionality, a few simple practices, and the belief that you deserve to thrive, not just survive, in this new phase of life. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your experience as you start implementing these routines. Which one are you going to try first? What does your ideal morning anchor look like? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's support each other in creating retirement lives that truly feel lighter, brighter, and more meaningful every single day.